Hi and welcome to Steve's Kitchen. I got another celebration cake today to show you. It's a Psy cake. Psy is pretty popular at the moment again because he's brought out the Gentleman song. And a friend of mine who's a music enthusiast wanted me to make this Psy cake, so let me show you how I make a Psy cake. So I'm starting with a 2-layer cake. It's a sponge cake which I made the other day on my channel. You can get across and see how to make this very simple fat-free sponge cake. And I'm putting a white chocolate ganache in the center. That is also on my channel. So I've got white chocolate in the middle and I'm not going to put that on the outside. I'm going to put a buttercream on the outside, otherwise it'll be just too rich. So before we actually put the fondant layer on, I want to put a nice smooth butter layer icing cover on the whole cake. Now I find it better to really rough butter ice this and then put it in the fridge and let it chill down for half an hour, and then when you bring it out it'll be a lot easier to smooth. Now by letting the butter icing chill down and get firm, I can take a knife dipped in hot water, a little palette knife like that, and it'll help me then just sort of ease the surfaces nice and smooth. And then when you've got a pretty smooth surface to your cake, pop it back in the fridge and let it chill down while we prepare our fondant. Now for the fondant, I'm using my own homemade marshmallow fondant, beautifully soft, and I'll put a link at the end of the video or down below so you can find out how to make this. Of course, store-bought fondant is also just fine. So I've got 1 kilo of this wonderful soft marshmallow fondant, and I'm just going to lightly dust the surface with some cornflour, cornstarch, and then I just want to roll my fondant out till it's about maybe 1/4 inch thick. So we want to roll our fondant out so it's a little bigger than our cake, and I've got this Psy template. Now I need a good 2 or 3 inches either side of the template. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loosely roll my fondant around a rolling pin like so. And then we can lift our fondant and sort of roll it over the top of our cake. And then we want to just lift the fondant up and just ease the corners into place very gently to get a nice square edge. And if you start to get a crease, lift the fondant back up and then let it drop down. Don't try to stretch the fondant. And then we just trim off the excess fondant, leaving about 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to use these fondant smoothing tools now just to smooth the fondant off, get a nice smooth surface and a reasonably square edge to this fondant. Now the next stage, I want to make the design logo for the top of my cake. I'm going to be using this sort of side design, so I want to roll some black. I'm using black for all the backgrounds here. So I'm just taking this piece now, it's about a couple of 100 grams, it's about 7 ounces, and I'm just going to roll it out on this greased paper or baking paper. I want to get it about as thin as a coin. And it's sometimes a good idea just to add a little corn flour down even onto this greaseproof paper just to stop the icing from sticking. See now it slides around beautifully on the paper. Now when I've rolled my icing out and it's the size of my design, so now we've got our paper in place, I want you to take a ballpoint pen and take one that's actually working, that draws nice and smoothly, and then just take the pen and outline around the edge of your design. We don't want to cut through the paper, so don't push too hard, but we do want to leave an impression on the top of our icing. Now when you've drawn around the glasses and the Psy and this exclamation mark on this side here, we just want to peel off our paper, and then I'm going to take our piece of icing, a little fondant icing, we're going to pop that in the fridge and let that chill down. And by chilling that down, it'll make it easier for us to cut around the outlines. And when your fondant has chilled down a little bit, we take a knife and we're going to follow the outline that we've made on the fondant with a sharp knife. So we're just going to stick in and start cutting out like so. Now just lift that last bit out there, and there you can see we've got the Psy Gentleman logo. Looks pretty cool, hey? Now we've got to transfer this onto the cake. So we want to gently lift these on to the surface of our cake. And when you're happy with where it's placed, you can just sort of peel back the corners and just put a little bit of water with a brush underneath and let that stick down. Now it's never too easy to make your own black coloured fondant. It always ends up being a grey, so I'm just going to take some super black and a paintbrush and just darken this down a little bit. Now I've made some little red fondant with a little yellow dot. I don't know if you can see them there. I'll get them as close as I can. And I'm going to place those on the Sci logo as well. And they're going to look like little LED lights around the Sci writing itself. So there's the little LED lights on there. They look kind of cool, don't they? So now I just want to get some royal icing. I'm going to put some little white dots around the inside of the glasses so I get that effect. Now I'm going to be using royal icing to make the little dots. Now don't forget guys, all of the recipes for every icing you see here today are on my channel, okay? Now I was using a #1 size icing nozzle for that, and I have to change that over now because I want to put white dots around the edge like the Sci logo. Now I've gone for a much bigger nozzle, a size 8, and I'm going to be doing some large dots like this around the outside of the cake. Now what I'm going to do is I'm outlining the white line that I want, then I'm going to flood the center. If you want to see how to do this, go and look at my Valentine cookies. I think I've got a good explanation, and I've also got a recipe there for royal icing, which will show you how to do this. Essentially what I'm doing is holding the icing and letting it drop down onto the surface so I get a nice smooth line. And then I'm going to use the same nozzle and I'm just going to flood the center of this of the outline that I've done. I want to run it in quickly while it's still wet. And then you can just use a toothpick just to drag any areas where there's any little gaps. And there you have it. I've just got to put the exclamation mark in the center there, which I'm going to use a little bit of black fondant. Now guys, that is one pretty damn fine Sci cake as far as I'm concerned. It looks fantastic. Now there's one thing I would do to this, but then this is optional. I've made this chocolate Sci. This little fella here, I'm going to stand him on the corner. He actually stands up and he's dancing his little Gangnam style. So I'm going to stand him on the corner there. Now if you want to know how to make this chocolate Sci, I've got to do another video. It's way too long to add to this one, but I'll do that in the next few days. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me again, guys. It's been a lot of fun making this little fella. And as I say, there'll be a video up very shortly. I'm coming over all Gangnam style. So until next time, be good. Now, I hope you've enjoyed these cake episodes. That's the second cake I made this week. I made the other, the Man of Steel the other day. That was a lot of fun too. And in the next day or two, as long as everybody liked me to, I'm going to show you how to make this little chocolate fella. Let's see if it'll come off of there. And I'll show you how to make this little Sci guy. And he's completely made out of edible chocolate, which is fantastic. I'll bite the head off of him now, but he's got to go to a party. So be good. I'll show you this in the next few days. Take care. See you later.